Abbott. This was a real live trial between the King family and the conspirators who killed Martin Luther King. This was real. In 1999, a jury found U.S. government agencies guilty of assassinating MLK on a balcony in Memphis in 1968. After hearing from 70 witnesses, including Lloyd Jowers, who owned Jim's Grill, from which the shot was fired, and assisted the sniper, the jury took less than an hour to decide that 1, multiple government agencies were responsible for the murder. 2, James Earl Ray, the man who we've always been told pulled the trigger, had nothing to do with it. And 3, the U.S. media is a fucking stain on the soul of this country, a tarnish so deep and dark it makes the Bermuda Triangle look like a happy day on the slip and slide. James Earl Ray only signed a confession because he was told it was the only way he could get a trial. Once he realized he would not get a trial, he recanted his confession and maintained his innocence to his death. Even Coretta Scott King and the King family said he was innocent. On the other hand, the 20th Special Forces Group was shown to have a sniper team at the location of King's murder. This is significant because snipers are good at putting bullets through people from a large distance away. It just so happens that Martin Luther King had a bullet go through him from a large distance away. What are the odds? Something tells me the 8-man sniper team wasn't at Jim's Grill that day for the cooking. Jim's Grill, our barbecue ribs are trigger finger licking good. So you're telling me, under U.S. law, the U.S. government has been found to have assassinated one of the 10 most courageous, most beloved American leaders, and most people in this country still don't know it? I can't turn on a TV without hearing that Lance Armstrong is guilty of using drugs, or Kristen Stewart is guilty of sleeping with a guy, or Manti Te'o is guilty of believing a Skype video of a stack of clothing is a real live girlfriend. Todd Aiken's guilty of believing God raped women, and Mel Gibson hates Jews, and Lindsay Lohan said "Raggedy Blue." Everybody in this country knows every step, breath, spasm, and orgasm that involves Justin Bieber, Dan Marino, and Anthony Weiner. Can't fucking avoid it. Can't not know it even if you try. Yet this government, our own goddamn government, was found guilty in a court of law of straight up murdering a peaceful disobedience icon, a legend who led the American people out of the dark ages, a modern day prophet, number 5 on the list of greatest Americans behind only George Washington, Ben Franklin, Carrie Underwood, and Balky from Perfect Strangers. The government was found guilty by a jury in 1999, and we never heard a fucking word of it, never heard a sound to this day.
Fred Hampton was killed December 4th, 1969, when Chicago police raided his apartment and shot and killed him in his own bed. Black Panther leader Mark Clark was also killed by police in that raid. Authorities initially claimed the Panthers had opened fire on the police who were there to serve a search warrant for weapons. Evidence later emerged that told a very different story. The FBI, the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, and Chicago police had conspired to assassinate Fred Hampton. Now, several hundred pages of FBI memos and reports obtained by historian and writer Aaron Leonard through a Freedom of Information Act request document that the director of the FBI's Domestic Intelligence Division, William Sullivan, and the head of the extremist section of the Domestic Intelligence Division, George Moore, both played key roles in planning the raid and the cover-up that followed. For more on what these documents say, we're joined by Flint Taylor and Jeff Haas, founding members of the People's Law Office in Chicago, who are the lead lawyers in the landmark Fred Hampton and Mark Clark civil rights case. Their new piece for Truth Out is headlined, "New Documents Suggest J. Edgar Hoover Was Involved in Fred Hampton's Murder." Jeff Haas, let's begin with you. You wrote a book about Fred Hampton. Talk about what these new documents show and what you see as the smoking gun of J. Edgar Hoover's direct involvement.
Thank you, Amy. Well, first of all, it's 51 years after the incident and 40-some years after the trial. We had never gotten these documents before. But what they showed was that Hoover and Sullivan and Moore were following Roy Mitchell, a special agent in charge, very closely with regard to O'Neill. and they were complimenting him and rewarding him from the moment he gave the information and the floor plan to Special Agent Mitchell. They were congratulating Mitchell on what a wonderful job he did with this informant. Of course, Mitchell got the floor plan, gave it to Hanrahan's police, and that's what led to the raid. The floor plan even showed the bed where Hampton and Johnson would be sleeping. So we knew much of this. We knew O'Neill had gotten a bonus. We never knew Mitchell got a bonus. And we never knew that Hoover and Sullivan and Moore were starting to watch this in November, but 10 days before it happened. They were monitoring exactly what went on. And so it was approved at the highest level.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. The Quarantine Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. We end today's show with a long-awaited feature new film that tells the story of Black Panther leader Fred Hampton and William O'Neill, the FBI informant who infiltrated the Illinois Black Panther Party to collect information that ultimately led to the execution of
Biden's massively irresponsible spending plan has expanded America's money supply, and wealthy insiders are using a secret financial loophole to escape the consequences of this unlimited
pain and guilt that Ray felt for the last 55 years. This letter helps me to understand the pain and guilt that Ray felt for the last 55 years. He can This letter helps me to understand the pain and guilt that Ray felt for the last 55 years. He conspired to help the NYPD assassinate Malcolm X.
To all you black people who always point out that the Nation of Islam killed Malcolm X, now that you know that the police arrested Malcolm X security
on behalf of Ray,
and had Malcolm X
he wanted
murdered,
the world to know that
and
he
not
is
the
deeply
Nation
sorry.
of Islam,
I
will
hope
you
that
now
this
follow their
information
policies and belief of being
helps the
self-sufficient
Shabazz
now?
family
Because the reason why they killed Malcolm X rather than Elijah
to more
Muhammad
clearly
is because Elijah
understand
Muhammad had
what happened to their
successors
father
and you did
on
not
that
want to make
horrible
him
day.
a martyr. Malcolm X organization no longer exists. And what it did was killing Malcolm X made black people discredit the Nation of Islam, which told black people that you should be self-sufficient. If you are so-called Christian, the United States government has set out to kill your savior. This is a fact. And they kill every person who comes to lead you in a way to rise you up of your condition, including Martin Luther King Jr., who came non-violence. They murdered Fred Hampton, who was feeding children.
As a black man, I am disgusted to know that what happened 60 years ago is still going on today. We are living under J. Edgar Hoover's Jim Crow system of policing our black and brown people. He is the architect of these constant injustices and tactics against our people.
Since the time they have enslaved blacks, they have played this game of playing us against each other. We continue to attack one another for conditions that were created by Europeans. When you look at black-on-black crime, most of our crime is economic based. Our economic conditions are created by these Europeans. This is why I work so hard at being self-sufficient and working on us supplying our community with goods and services and creating jobs for ourselves. So we're not vulnerable to these people This is why I do what I do. That's why I do these type of things. Sell 5 gallons of laundry detergent for $30. You pay in the store at Walmart. You go in the store and you pay for 96 ounces, 6 ounces. You pay $18.87. This is about 7 of these. Talking about $130-something worth of laundry detergent. I do that so that I can supply my community with goods and services and work as hard as I can to get us as self-sufficient and offer these other people's source products as much as possible. If you support me, then eventually I can create opportunities. We need to separate from these Europeans. They show you who they are repeatedly.